Now at this time, I'd like to introduce Will Hudson, and I know eventually Joe, to speak about the Adams County Rescue Mission. And just to realize, remember, that is our monthly mission this month. So anything you give, you'll hopefully see the benefits of pretty soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, church, for inviting me out here. Good morning to you all. Again, I was just so honored to be able to do the kids' church thing. It's just so cool. That's overwhelming. I'm going to unbutton this button. I've had too many cookouts this summer. We're the Adams Rescue Mission. I'm the executive director, and I've been there for about 2.5 years. And when I got to the Adams Rescue Mission, they were known for doing a lot of great work since 1972 when it came into existence, helping the hungry, the needy, the poor, the homeless. But we had a hard time, and we kind of drifted away from some of the things we started out as. And people got to know us basically as our thrift store or as a recycling center. And they kind of forgot who we were. We even forgot maybe a little bit who we were. So we had to sit down and decide, what are the things that really make us? What are those principles that we stand on that we will not be moved from? And that's what our little flywheel is here, right? So we're the Adams Rescue Mission. We exist to proclaim the passion of Jesus Christ towards the hungry, the homeless, the abused, the addicted, to accelerate the recovery and restoration of the least, the last, the lonely, and the lost. But how do we do it? Sharing the gospel. That is by far the number one game changer in people's lives. It's eternity. This is temporary. Strong donor relations, ensuring like this, churches and organizations and people that help support us, that we're talking with them, we're sharing with them what we're doing, we're getting them involved in the ideas and thoughts that we have on where we need to go to serve our community. An engaged community. We need to get out there and see exactly what the community needs and what's not being met. This is what Jesus did. He walked with the sinners. He walked with the prostitutes. He walked with the tax collectors. He walked with the people that nobody else would walk with. And he got to know what their issues were. And so many parables, so many different, the Sermon on the Mount, where he was speaking to those folks. An enabled staff, ensuring that I have an educated staff, a staff that I empower to do what they need to do within their guidelines. A staff that has pay that is similar to pay they would get outside. So if I have somebody who's working in our stores, are they making the same amount of money somebody that's working at a Target or something like that in a similar position? That's important to me. It's important to know that they're valued. And so often we heard, well, it's a ministry, so we don't do that, Well, God has much more money than I do, so we need to continue to work on that and continue to treat people fairly. And that is how we operate within our teams. And then resident restoration, we have to remember why we're here. We are not here simply to house people. We're here to get men, women, and children back on their feet and back out into society, taking care of themselves and a community wrapped around them that helps serve them. So recycling, everybody knows we're the number one recycler in Adams County. And we're pushing closer into York County as well. We'd like to partner with Hanover and kind of surrounding counties to take in their recycling as well, because that recycling helps us drive revenue that serves the mission, that serves the men and women that we take care of. So we want to help grow that. But a lot of people know us as that. A lot of people know us as our thrift stores. We have 3 thrift stores now where you folks, you make donations of your lightly used products, maybe your furniture or your household goods. You get a new set of dishes, you bring us your set of dishes, and we get to use those for the less fortunate in our community. We give away about 30% of the items that we bring in to help people in need. Maybe they had a fire, maybe they're incredibly poor and they need a couch or they need a bed. So we help them with those things. We also sell those things in our thrift stores to generate revenue to take care of the people that we serve. but we have one in Biglerville where the old little hardware store was. And we'll learn a little bit more about that. But the Biglerville store we started a year ago, and we're able to serve the community there. We also have a small little food donation area where people bring in food, and those who are in need of food can come in and just walk in the door. You grab a couple cans and some loaves of bread, whatever that is that you need that's sitting there. No harm, no foul. Go off and take care of yourself. So please let people know if they're in need. Monday, or I think it's Tuesday through Saturday are our hours, 9 to 5. If they're in need, they can walk in there, and we have food. And if we don't, let the store manager know, and the store manager will get a hold of me, and we'll figure out how to get some resources around that person. And again, the whole purpose of these, one, is to raise money for the mission, but also the outreach that we get to create through having these types of things. And then we also have one right downtown in Gettysburg. We call it the bougie store because that's where all the bougie people hang out. And we'll put some of the fancier things there and sell those out of there. So this is our men's shelter recovery program. And currently we have space for 38 men. And currently we have 27 fellas in there right now going through different stages of recovery. And some of those may be from drug and alcohol abuse. Some of those may be from we have a couple of folks who've had brain injuries that are struggling and found themselves homeless, and they're in between, and they fell through the cracks of different programs that were meant to help them. So we're helping them get back on their feet and find places for them to go. We do not do anything at all for our residents that they can't do for themselves. This is one of the key areas that's changed. When you first come in, you can't feed yourself. You can't clothe yourself. You can't do most things. But as they grow in the program and they don't need those services anymore, those services are stopped and they start doing for themselves and slowly getting back into society, into what we would call responsible living. I'm not gonna give you an allowance when you started working in a job. I'm not gonna take your money either. So on the right here we have Reggie. He's our chef. He's also a phenomenal preacher. We have a little warehouse church that we do one Sunday a month out of the mission. And at the warehouse church, I let different pastors preach, and it's predominantly there, like I said, one Sunday a month. It's the residents, our women and children and men all come together, and their families can find a safe place to start reconnecting with them and rebuilding that relationship. And it's about an hour. The folks come in, but I let different people preach, and Reggie did a sermon there. Then we have our family restoration shelter. So currently we have 10 apartments, and those apartments we have 10 women and 18 children right now that we are taking care of and helping get back on their feet. So often the women and children that we serve have gone through severe traumas. If you can imagine a little fella or a little lady seeing some of the atrocities that they see, the abuse that they see, the damage that can do. So one of the things we did when I first started, I guess about 6 months it took us to get it up and going, we were trying to get people into counseling. And the counseling said, okay, we can get them in, but we can't see them for probably 6 months till we can get them going. Well, we don't have 6 months. We have a short window of maybe 2 or 3 days to get these folks locked in and understand that we care for them and we want to help them and that they need to see somebody. So I worked with my ministry director, and we went out and we found a company that would actually put our folks first, but we give them office space, and they run counseling sessions out of our space. They can do whatever they want with the public, but our people come first. So they're on site. We have counselors on site at our women's shelter, our family shelter here, and we have counselors, professional counselors on site at our men's shelter. I'm a pastor. I can pray with them all day. I can listen. but I'm not educated on all those tools that some of the folks who have untreated mental illnesses or untreated traumas need. So this has been a game changer for us here at the Adams Rescue Mission as we work with these counselors. Now, these folks spend about 4 hours a day on average in counseling, between one-on-ones and group counseling. And they also work 6 hours a day doing the recycling, doing the stores, doing the sorting, those types of things. So we had to partner with a big grant for putting people back to work. And we pitched an idea. We don't take government money directly. We can't. We're a faith-based organization. So we don't take it, nor do we want it. We believe that a nonprofit, their existence should be to help alleviate some of that tax burden. However, in this specific case, there's grants out there to help people return to work. And I'm like, okay, well, we have these job functions within the mission, and we're helping people return to work. Can you pay them directly? And they came out, they checked out our program, they looked at everything. It took a few months to go through all this. And they said, well, if you'll front the money, then we will reimburse you for it. So we have this program now that they get to work about 20 hours a week that they get paid for at minimum wage, but they get paid for it. It's an income that they get. It's something they can be proud of. It's a purpose that they serve, and they serve the community doing it. So we have the work programs along with that and with our shelter situation. And these are just some of the pictures of the kids' rooms and what our apartments look like. Now, transitional housing. Transitional housing. When I started at the mission, we would graduate people and there was no place for them to go. The housing market was crazy. Rent was way more than what they could afford at entry-level jobs. A lot of the folks that we deal with have cognitive or mental health issues, and their ability to attain a job that pays a living wage is incredibly difficult. And if you know of rent or property values and stuff since COVID, it's gone a little crazy. And folks entering that type of situation and needing housing, they can't afford it. So what we did was partner with bed and breakfast folks, people who had properties or houses and wanted to rent them out, and they wanted fair market value for it. So, okay, so if I could put 3 or 4 people in a house, 3 or 4 guys typically, the families we do a little differently, or 3 or 4 single women, which we'll be getting involved in here. If I could do that, I could get you fair market value, but they could break the rent up amongst themselves so that they could afford to live. And by the way, they also have a small community that they get to work with. They're one another. And we have wraparound services now that are specifically designed for this transitional housing. So often when people graduate our program after 12 to 18 months, you'd see them go out into the world and they start out doing really well. And then next thing you know, my car insurance lapsed and I got a ticket. And it put them right back into the cycle that they were in. Or my driver's license, I didn't renew it. Now I don't have an ID. Now I can't get this. Now I just lost this. And it happens so often. The mundane that you and I go through and deal with, oftentimes they have a lot of trouble making sure those things are set as priorities. And it's very easy for us to sit back and point the finger and say, just get your head out of your back pocket and do it. I'm going to speak plainly, but cognitively or emotionally, they can't. Have you ever had that day where you had 5 or 6 things that you really had to do? You have to go to the DMV, your car needs inspected, this and that. It can be difficult for us. For them, it just shuts them down. Oftentimes, this is how folks get homeless. So in our transitional housing, we have outside wraparound services with a caseworker that comes around and ensures that they're keeping up with these things, that pushes them like a family member would or a good friend would. And those are a couple of the guys that are in that. Childcare. Often people don't know that the Adams Rescue Mission is involved in childcare. So we had the same issues. Our women would get ready to graduate and they couldn't go anywhere, they couldn't get a job because they had these little tiny, beautiful, amazing, awesome anchors. And when you see childcare and you know that it takes almost 24 months now to get a position, they're telling moms or families who are expecting children, when you guys decide you want children, now is the time to go start signing up at different places and putting your applications in. That's where the need is. And then childcare also costs about $260 per week per child. There's no way the women that we serve can afford that. So there's no way that they can go out and get a good job to get away from the abuse and the trafficking and all the other issues that they go through. There's no way that they even have time to do that. $260 a week. The average person that we work with has 2 children. The average woman that we work with has 2 children. And it's easy to sit back and say, don't have children, don't do this. I assure you, 90% of them did not have a choice in that decision whatsoever. So we went out and started partnering with churches. And we partnered with one right down the road from you guys here, Chapel Hill Church of God, over Oxford Road, I think is what it is. So we have little micro childcare centers. We're starting our second one now down at Lower Marsh Creek towards Fairfield, Lower Marsh Creek Presbyterian. So these churches have these beautiful, beautiful Sunday school rooms and things like that. And we can utilize those Sunday school rooms during the week. Now, it limits the ladies. They have to have jobs between 6 and 6 during the week, Monday through Friday. They can't do weekend work or those things. But it gives them the opportunity to go out and get meaningful work and or an education. We're not a babysitter service. We're not here because you had a long day. I get it. That's part of life. We all have to go through those things. But it is there so that you can go get a job to escape the issues that you're going through, that you can go back to school, you can go to trade school, get your GED, whatever that looks like. You can now be part of changing your life. And we provide that through, there's certain subsidies that the folks qualify that they can get, where they can get help and assistance. It goes directly to them. But also through scholarships and the mission through what we raise and sell, we create opportunities to watch these kids. Each of these micro daycares, like I said, holds about 12 kids. It's life-changing for these women. Professional counseling, I touched base on that. We partnered with counseling group, and we do intensive outpatient drug and alcohol, inpatient. We have, like I said, counselors on site with addiction. We have trauma counselors. We also have children's behavioral health counselors. So often these little guys and ladies that see some of these things that happen in their families, the abuse, the fights, the violence, at young ages, they don't know how to deal with that. So you'll have a child at school age, 5 to 10 years old, not knowing how to deal with conflict. And they get angry, and there's an anger inside them they can't get rid of, or a fear inside them. And they fight, they get in trouble at school, they cause problems, they're hyperactive, they're, you name it. They have all these behavioral issues. So mom's getting her life straight, she's out, she's getting to work. The kids who aren't in school are in childcare, and the ones who are in school, she's having to leave work, she's having to leave the daycare, she's having to do this to go back and pick them up because they can't behave where they're at. So we have all the counseling systems around this to continue to help them grow and move forward. Now, is this going to automatically play? I think. Yeah, I'll talk about it. Oh, here we go.
I'm 16 years old. I'm from York, Pennsylvania.
I want you to listen to this.
What was your life like before entering the program?
I lived with my grandparents most of the time. I didn't see my mom a lot because she lived with an ex-boyfriend of hers. When I did see her, I usually slept on an air mattress because there wasn't enough space in the house for all of us to sleep on a bed. Her ex-boyfriend and her often got into fights that sometimes ended up physical, sometimes ended with me in between them. So I didn't see her much, and I wasn't in the best place mentally.
How do you feel the program has changed you and your family's life so far?
It's given us more of a stable place, a stable environment. Gettysburg is a lot different from where I was living before, but being able to be around somewhere with more scenery. I got involved in the wrestling program at the high school. I'm very proud of that.
Awesome.
I also got more connected with God through the program because I was able to have a steady schedule with going to church every Sunday. And Miss Sierra and Miss CJ have been so helpful to us, just keeping us on track and helping us with anything that we might need. They never make us feel bad for, needing something or reaching out if we have trouble with anything.
As you're preparing for adulthood and have been growing with us, how do you think your outlook has changed on life from beginning to now?
I've definitely changed my point of view on where I want to go forward with my career and with my education. I've seen things a lot more in an optimistic light, and I'm a lot more excited about adulthood and, being able to start working soon and driving and all those other glorious things.
From the mission to you, we are so proud of you, not just for how much you've grown as a person, but for the way you continue to grow within your family. We want you to know that we see you, we hear you, and we couldn't be prouder of everything you've accomplished, whether that's in school, wrestling, or your art. Your hard work and your heart never go unnoticed. We see your strength, your talent, and the person you are becoming. And lastly, is there anything you want to tell anyone out there that's struggling?
It does get better. I know that's an overused quote. Everyone says that. You mostly hear it from people who are like rich and famous, but as someone who was definitely not expecting to make it to 16, let alone be looking on to 17, it does 100% get better when you find the right people and the right environment to be in.
So that's Cece. And Cece is, now she's 17. When she came to us, she was 15. Her mom and her 3 siblings came to us, and she was the oldest. She couldn't even lift her head up and look you in the face. She was terrified of men. She had been through some horrible things, and her mom finally found the courage to get them out of there and run. And luckily, we had space available. We had an apartment available. Right now, they're all full. So if that same situation were to happen, I couldn't help them. I could call around and try to find some place to place them, but certainly nothing here in Adams County. Cece, she was suicidal. All kinds of things going on there. And you heard her say, I didn't think I was going to make 16, let alone be turning 17. It's not much older than the young lady that was sitting here. And I can't imagine it. So they came to live with us. They've been with us. They're getting ready to get their own apartment now. And it took a little bit longer than typical, but they're about 2 years in, and they're doing fantastically. Cece got involved in wrestling with the Haynes family down there in Gettysburg, and she's just a powerhouse. And her confidence, her ability, she sees herself the way that Jesus sees her. And that was the point of this children's message, that we can see kind of through the eyes that God has. And that's my prayer, that we always get to do with the mission, that we never become complacent and we get to see things the way Jesus does. Human trafficking, and then I'm going to wrap this up. People don't believe that human trafficking happens right here in Adams County. Oftentimes when we think of human trafficking, we think of the movie Taken, or one of those where somebody's child is snatched and you're taken to a different country, and that situation. So often here in Adams County, what we see are boyfriends selling their girlfriends for drugs, or parents or step-parents doing the same thing. The addiction and the strength of fentanyl and the heroin and the mixtures of those things here, if you think of the very best meal you've ever had or the very best day you've ever had, the amount of chemicals that dumps in your brain is about the size of a pencil tip. When you think of the chemicals and receptors that fentanyl and heroin attacks in your body, it's the size of a baseball field in comparison. These parents, these people who traffic these young ladies, they severe issues, I get that, but there's no place in Adams County for them to go. I get these young women, or they get stuck in crimes of that type of thing where they have to go sell and they get in trouble for selling things, and there's no place for them to go, and they sit in a system and they figure out that life isn't better than this. This is all I have, and we need to put an end to it. So about a year ago, a little deaconess, her name is Sister Deb, and she's with the Lutheran faith. There's a Lutheran church out between Bonneville and Littlestown, and the church was aging out, and they couldn't afford to run the church anymore. And she came walking into my office, and she said, "What would you do if somebody gave you a church?" And we had been praying about a single women's shelter since somebody had dropped somebody off on our doorstep. And it's a men's shelter, and they dropped them off there, and we had to help them. So we had been praying about that. And this lady comes in and says, "What would you do with the church?" Well, it's 8.5 acres. It's a huge brick building similar to this. And then outside, there's a fellowship hall that has a full working kitchen. Everything we would need. It's not the Ritz. It's not the Hilton or anything like that. But we are planning to open here in the middle of September. We have dressers, we have beds. The college had donated a year before. They had asked us if we'd come and get all their old stuff, their old furniture, because they were redoing dorms. I had no idea what was going to happen with it, but I knew it was decent stuff, and I didn't want to get rid of it. It just felt on my heart, something's going to happen. And so there they are, the beds and the dressers and stuff in the women's shelter. And we'll be opening that, and we'll be going after and attacking and giving people the opportunities to recover from human trafficking, addiction, abuse, those types of things that young women go through or older women go through. So that's the big thing. That's who we are, and I think a lot of people kind of miss that. They think Adams Rescue Mission is a recycling center, and we are a thrift store. But my hope is you learned a little something, that we're much more. We're looking to meet the community and meet the needs that Jesus puts on our heart to go help and go solve. So I want to give Joe a little chance to come up here, because what you don't know about Joe, other than he's my giant bodyguard, is Joe was a former resident. Joe fled gang violence from Baltimore, and he was in a hurry and ended up in Waynesboro, of all places. So you have a 6'4", 380-pound black man in Waynesboro.
310.
Sticking out. We have a weight contest we get on the scale, so the loser, I don't know, we had to buy each other lunch or something. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. It was counterproductive. But Joe, I've worked with Joe for a couple of years now. So I'm going to let him tell a little bit of his story on what the Adams Rescue Mission did for him, but more so what he does for the Adams Rescue Mission. Definitely an incredible young man, and I have a lot of respect for him. So thank you. Go ahead, Joe.
Good morning. I came to ARM March 31st, 2023. Like Will said, I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. Long story short, with Baltimore, some things I had done in my past, situations that I've gotten into in my past began to catch up with me. And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, you gotta leave, which was probably one of the hardest things I had to do. My son's still in Baltimore. My mom is still in Baltimore. But for their safety, I needed to leave. And I literally found myself in Waynesboro. I've never, up until that point, I'd never been in Pennsylvania. I found myself in Waynesboro, and I don't know what to do. So I go to the WellSpan, the hospital in Waynesboro. I walk into the emergency room, and I go up to the registration desk, and I tell the lady, I'm like, look, I don't have anywhere to go. I've never been in this situation before. I don't know if you can help me or point me in the right direction. She called the cops on me. So the officer that came, I tell him the same situation. So he put me in touch with some sort of caseworker that put me in a hotel for a couple of nights. Now, granted, she explained this was going to be a one-time thing, but that's a couple of nights that I don't have to figure out where I'm going to lay my head. That's a couple of nights I can get a shower, get something to eat. So I was grateful for that. But at the same time, now my wheels are turning. What are my next steps going to be? I ride out the 2 nights in the hotel, end up checking out. I'm walking around Waynesboro, and it's like 6:30 in the morning. And I'm thinking like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I ended up walking past a church in Waynesboro. And again, this is 2023. I hadn't set foot in a church in probably 15 years. And I get about a block past the church, and I hear a little voice that tells me, turn back. I now understand that was God telling me to turn back. Again, 15 years I hadn't set foot in a church. They were actually prepping for a morning service. I sat through that morning service. I approached that pastor, and I was like, hey, look, my name is Joe Kitt. I don't have anywhere to go. Can you help me or at least point me in the right direction? He sat me down in his office. We went online, and he found Adams Rescue Mission. So we call, I do the phone interview, and thankfully, I was allowed to come in. That same pastor drove me from Waynesboro to Gettysburg and stayed with me the entire time during the application process to make sure that I got it. And he's like, I'm not leaving until I know you have a bed. I don't even remember that pastor's name. But I do, like, I'm eternally grateful to him. I legit don't even remember this pastor's name. And now I'm in Gettysburg, I'm at the mission, and I'm trying to make sense of everything. And I remember God saying to me, Joe, I'm gonna give you this opportunity. I'm going to give you this opportunity. Take advantage of it. And through that time, I've been blessed enough to be able, I've held multiple positions with ARM. Been everything from food service manager, peer services manager, retail sales manager. But all these are just titles. The title that means something to me, that's most important, is child of God. Me being at ARM, that helped me restore my relationship with the Lord. And I've seen how he's blessed me up until this point. I cannot wait to see what he has in store. I've been privileged enough to mentor our guys that are in our men's program. I've been privileged enough to turn my life around, but that's because of him. Hopefully I stand here now in present day, a better example to my son. I have a 13-year-old son. He asks a lot of questions, and none of them are free, I promise you. So I pray that I'm a better example for him. Like without ARM, I really would not be standing here. I really would not be standing here. I'm literally knocking on 40, and I'm blessed enough to be able to say that. So I thank you for having me, and I thank you for allowing me a couple of minutes to speak. And everybody enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Joe's a staff member now. He does a lot of different things. He's a utility knife. He's very gifted, very talented man. So yeah, his future's looking bright. Those are the success stories, and for every one of those, there's one that's not so successful. We deal with those as well. But we're here, and we're going to keep on doing what we do, and we're going to keep getting better, and we're going to keep learning from our community. We are not just a Gettysburg thing. We're an Adams County thing. And my hope is we continue to extend our reach up here, helping folks in Upper Adams, Eastern, Western, Southern, to continue to ensure that people have the same opportunity Joe has. And maybe one day we'll change it to the Adams Opportunity Mission instead of Rescue Mission. So, because that's what we do. That's what God does for us. He creates opportunities. We have the free will to take those or not. I thank you all so much. I'm going to pray for you real quick, and then we will get, you'll come up and do a formal benediction. Thank you.
Well, we have to do
Oh, you got other stuff to do, so all kinds of cool stuff. So, Lord Jesus, thank you so much for this congregation. Thank you for the time and opportunity we had to share with them who we are, and for them to share their love with us, Lord. And thank you for Bree, just a young lady who comes up here and has a heart for you and is willing to take on responsibility and leadership. It's so incredible. It warms the heart to see that there's another generation that is going to believe in who you are and your redeeming power. We love you in your name, Jesus. Amen.